Running your own business is awesome. It's the dream, as they say. But it's very stressful as well. Customers, they'll see the front end, the products, the signs, the slogans, the happy owner. But it's the back end of the business that really drives the ship. The inventory management, the sales conversions, order processing and shipping. The business behind the business is the key to business. And for millions of businesses around the world, that business behind the business is Shopify. Nobody does selling better than Shopify. They're home of the #1 checkout on the planet, which is why so many businesses work with them. And Shopify brings the heat with their secret weapon, Shop Pay, which boosts sales conversions by up to 50%. And that means way fewer carts are being abandoned to checkout and way more sales are going. If you want to grow your business, you better be ready to sell anywhere and everywhere your customers are. Scrolling social media, on your website, in your store, and everywhere in between. It's no secret. Businesses that want to grow with Shopify. Upgrade your business and get the same checkout Heinz and Mattel use. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/RTG, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/RTG to upgrade your selling today. Shopify.com/RTG. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Remember the Game. It is my retro gaming podcast where every week a buddy of mine and I sit down and we geek out about the games we played back in the day. My name is Adam Blank. Thank you so much for listening to the show. And this week it is episode 326, and it is finally time to talk about the game that took down our illustrious RPG Patreon poll back in December. And that, of course, is Wildarms for the PlayStation 1. Every month I let our Patreons vote for a game to be covered on the show. Most months the poll has a theme of some kind, and every December we wrap the year up with an RPG poll, which is the hottest contested, the most hotly contested, hottest contested, whatever. It is the most vicious cutthroat poll of the year, because I know there's a lot of you HP sucking, MP hoarding, Phoenix down and experience point grinding RPG junkies out there, and we just don't cover a ton of RPGs on the show. And it's not that I hate RPGs. I need to make this clear because this comes up a lot. I don't hate RPGs. I'm just a very picky eater when it comes to these games. You know, I either like them or I don't. And suffering through, it's one thing to plow through a 5 or 6 hour game that you're not really enjoying for the sake of a review. Suffering through a 30+ hour RPG that you're not enjoying isn't something I like to put myself through too often. But fortunately, that was not the case when it came to Wildarms. I know this game has a fan base, but I still think it's a bit of a hidden gem in the world of the PlayStation 1, which it's, you know, we all know the PS1 RPG library is all time. And I think Wildarms gets overlooked sometimes. And I'm going to try to convince those of you that haven't played it to give it a shot this week, because I think this game is fucking awesome. I tried it years ago in my Uline days. So that's like 10 years ago now or so. I played it on my Vita and I liked it, but I played 10 hours or so and then I put it down and I just never came back to it for some reason. Everyone's done that with at least one RPG. You like, it's not that it's bad, but you put it down and then you can't remember where you were. And then that's all it is, right? So when I dove into it, I played it on PS Plus on my PS5. When I dove into it for the show, I had an idea of what I was getting myself into. But now that I'm done with the whole thing, buddy, this is a great RPG. 3-member party to manage, how I like it. The smaller, the better. Each character's got a specific role to play, which is good. Combat is very basic, and that's not a bad thing. The story is okay, it's decent. There's a solid twist in the middle, which we will be spoiling. And I think what I like the most about Wildarms is that when you're in combat, it's a classic traditional turn-based RPG where, as you would if you fought somebody at a bar, you both stand there and just look at each other until it's your turn to swing or attack. But out of combat, it's got some Link to the Past DNA to it, blatantly, in some spots. If you've played it, you know. You solve puzzles, drop bombs, use a hook shot. You're dashing all over the place. it kept my interest the whole way through. There were a couple of minor gripes, but overall, it's a really solid game. I can say right now, safely, I think this is the best JRPG that I have played since I played Sea of Stars a year and a half ago. I want to make sure it's not better than Sea of Stars. I don't know if I've ever played an RPG as good as Sea of Stars, but it's the best RPG I've played since then, for sure. My guest this week is a longtime friend and supporter of the show and the co-host of the Retrotopia podcast, my buddy Captain N. He's an RPG junkie who played through this one not too long ago, so it was fresh in his mind, and I had him waiting on deck while I put my 30 hours or so into my run, and we both agreed, just a really solid RPG that, frankly, I think it's a little overlooked because it released on the console that Final Fantasy VII built. So I enjoyed this chat, I enjoyed this game, and I hope you enjoyed this episode, and we'll get to all that in just a minute, because speaking of things I hope you enjoy, of course it's time for another edition of the Remember the Game infamous intro. And if you're new to the podcast, welcome aboard and consider this your warning. Listen, our intros are a little long. They're not that long. They're a little long, but they're a good time. We talk video games and stuff. They're fun. And if you want to skip it, it's much easier to figure out how than it is to solve some of the puzzles in wildarms. You just move it to about the 30-minute mark, and you should be into wildarms. But I recommend hanging around. Let us talk video games after I get my plugs out of the way, because I got bills to keep on. We have all kinds of merch designed by my man Joe from 4545 Creative, that talented bastard. You can find it all at rememberthegamepodcast.com if you're interested. Great way to support the show. And of course, the lifeblood of our show is, in fact, our Patreon. I publish up to 4 extra shows over there every week. They don't have any ads in them, and you can listen to them for as little as $3 a month. You can also write into the show, vote on the games we cover. We have a 1,000+ member Discord you can join, and you get instant access to hundreds upon hundreds of archived bonus podcasts as well. And most importantly, you get a shout out and get to hear me mispronounce your name like I am certainly going to do to at least 2 of these people. A huge thank you to all of our newest Patreons. It's Sir Adsley to you, Daniel from, is it Seca or Seca? From Daniel F., Katie P., Gilded Jackal, Mr. Brightside, Ken Chalmers, who I think might be Super Nintendo Chalmers, but I'm not sure, Dan Bone, I'm going Bone, Spicy McHaggis, Onward and Awkward, I like that, Luke Ostermiller, Mutant Rashi Chapo, Fuzzy Pickles, double secret probation for that right away. Fuck that name. Rar Chickens, Dancing Dan. Dude, I have to ask, Dancing Dan, are you from Edmonton? Because we used to have somebody here in Edmonton that everybody called Dancing Dan that would stand on like street corners and dance when you just drove by it. He was awesome. I haven't seen that guy in a long time. So I wonder if are you Dancing Dan? Braden Staunch, Vince Gameplays, Justin Muslemi, Joshua Lackey, Eric the Megustulator, Menard, Retro Isle, and Kelly. I fucking butchered some of those. Thank you all for the support and welcome to Remember the Game Industries, patreon.com/rememberthegame. And if you don't feel like signing up yet, there are some free episodes over there you can try out just to see how Patreon works. Again, subscriptions start at $3 a month, and if you sign up for a year, you get your 12th month for free. Cha-cha. That's it. Blowing myself. Let's blow some of you by blowing in some cartridges. It is our opening segment on the show. I read a few comments and questions from our Patreons, usually gaming related, but not always. And we call this segment Blowing in the Cartridge.
He blows all right. He blows big time.
That's it, honey. Get into the spirit.
Let's blow. Our first blower this week is Jake Ashford. Good start. Who says, "Hey, Mr. B, sometimes on the show you'll mention that you listen to a podcast while gaming. What are some of your favorites? And have you ever listened to the Trailer Park Boys podcast? My second favorite after yours. I usually spend my 10-hour shift switching between your show and the Trailer Park Boys. Rest in peace to the liquor himself." Yes, of course. Rest in peace to the legendary Mr. Jim Leahy. Randy, I am the liquor, with all of his shit analogies. Shout out, I love Mr. Leahy. I've never listened to the Trailer Park Boys podcast. I can't say as I have. Is it like, do they talk about episodes of the show? Or you're not going to answer. I can just look it up. But no, I have not. When I say I listen to podcasts, I don't actually listen to a lot of like, the only podcast I specifically have on my phone that I listen to every new episode, I've said this before, is Swindled, which is like a fiscal crime podcast. It's my favorite podcast by 100 miles. I love that show. Other than that, like when I listen to podcasts while I'm gaming, it's usually just on YouTube. A lot of discussions. I've been listening to a lot of, I don't know how to pronounce his last name. I don't remember. Andrew Huberman. He's like a self-help science professor guy who explains things for people like me. I really enjoy his show. I've been listening to a lot of his lately. I listen to some Rogan. I listen to some wrestling stuff. That's just like, dude, Conrad Thompson and his ads can fucking sit on a cactus. Fucking brutal. I had to stop listening to his shit. Fucking people think I run too many ads, buddy. Go listen to a Conrad Thompson podcast. You'll be begging me to fucking come back and listen to my 2 ads in 90 minutes. Jesus Christ. But yeah, that's the only one I listen to religiously is Swindled. And after that, I just rotate between sports, self-help, discussion, a little bit of like alien stuff, just no specific names really. I just kind of go through YouTube and pick whatever I feel like. PBQ said, well, I won't pre-order anything. Or, pardon me. No, that's right. Well, okay. Well, I won't pre-order anything. Hang on, let me start this whole thing over. The problem was PBQ's name was on page 1 of my document, and then his comment was on page 2, and it fucked everything up here. PBQ said, well, I won't pre-order anything. I try to buy books, movies, music, and games the day they come out if the work ends up being excellent, even if I don't enjoy it that same day. Split Fiction is the current example. My rationale is that studios and publishers favor the sales at the beginning of a run, which benefits the artists more, increases the probability of them greenlighting more of that, and has the greatest leverage to build momentum for an excellent product. Looking forward to Split Fiction, but my 3-week-old newborn is too dang cute to put down. Congratulations on the newborn. That is exciting. Yeah, Split Fiction. If you don't know, that's the new one from the people that made It Takes Two. It's reviewing through the fucking roof. People have been asking me if we're going to play that. Actually, that was one of the comments. So I'll save that till I get to that question. Because that's one of the ones like 2 comments away from here. So I'll save that. I can respect that. If it's a game I really want, I'll buy it day one. Like I already have WWE 2K25 downloaded. I'm probably going to buy MLB The Show this year. Like, if it's a game I know I'm going to play, I buy it day one. I haven't bought a movie in forever. Music, I just download off Apple Music. Books, I don't buy a ton of books day one because I've probably got about 80 laying around here to read. But same thing, if it's someone I really, like Mark Hoppus from Blink-182 has a book coming out soon, and I'll be buying that day one, even if I don't read it. Because you are right. It's pretty well documented in the gaming, at least in the gaming world. I can't speak to other industries, but in the gaming world, it's pretty well documented that those day one sales, those first week sales, when the game is full price, there's no used copies floating around, they haven't put it on sale yet, those are huge for these game studios. So I'm not going to sit here and tell you all what to do with your money, because I'll be honest, yeah, like if I'm on the fence about a game, I very rarely will pay full price for it. I don't mind paying full price for it, but I'm not going to buy it day one unless I think I'm going to play it day one. Because I've got so many laying around here to play anyways. But yeah, if you've got the cash to spend and you want to support a studio or an artist or whatever, those day one buys are a big fucking deal. So good for you, PBQ. Good for you. I'll skip ahead to the question about Split Fiction. Tomothy O'Houlihan wrote in and said, do you think you and Shay will play through Split Fiction? TBD. TBT. The next couple of weeks are pretty busy. I have a whole bunch of... I know I said I was like kind of retiring from stand-up for now, but I have 6 shows between now and next Wednesday. There were shows I agreed to last year. I'm hosting some fundraisers. So I'm barely even going to see Shaylee until the end of next week. We played about half of It Takes Two, and we had a couple of little fights, mostly my fault because I just play a lot more games than her and I was getting impatient like a dink. But the main reason we didn't finish It Takes Two is because we found the main protagonist. I love that game. I thought it was so well done. I thought the puzzles and everything were brilliant. I fucking despise the parents in It Takes Two. Like I'm sorry, but like it's just I get the writing that they're kind of fighting with each other, but I was like, you've both been shrunk and turned into toys while your kid has no parents right now. Shut the fuck up. And it really got under my skin. And I'm not dunking on It Takes Two. I think it was a fucking fantastic game, but God, it pissed me off. So I'll ask her. I am going to ask her if she wants to play it. If she's down, then I'll pick it up and we'll play it and I'll do a review of it. And if she doesn't want to, then I can't play it by myself. So I guess it's going to stay on the sidelines. But I'm interested because it looks awesome. Mark McHugh's high school phys ed teacher said, I recently watched a video on YouTube with a high school teacher who runs a video game club at school, challenging his students to hook up an original NES to an old TV. While I found myself wishing we had a video game club in high school, the teacher also admitted he had never beat Super Mario Bros. 3. Since becoming a teacher requires so much schooling itself, what would be your curriculum/requirements for someone to be eligible to be a video game teacher? They would definitely have to be able to hook up an NES to an old TV. That is for sure. Like, no doubt about that. They'd have to be able to beat Mario Brothers 3. If you want to warp whistle through it, I can live with that, but you have to be able to beat Mario Brothers 3. You got to be able, you know what? No. You know what? If you're going to teach, you need to know your shit. If you're just regular Joe Blow and you want to warp whistle your way through Mario 3, go to town. I don't really give a fuck. But if you're going to teach video games, you got to beat Mario 3 on the up and up. You also have to be able to get all 120 stars in Mario 64. I've done that, and I don't even like that game that much. If I can do that, you can fucking do it. So you got to beat you got 100% Mario 64. You got 100, or you got to beat Mario Brothers 3 fair and square. You got to be able to beat Sonic 2. You got to be able to beat Sonic 2. What else should you have to be able to do? I don't want to say you should have to be able to beat Metal Gear Solid, because that's a pretty frustrating game. But you got to be able to get to the final fight in Metal Gear Solid. If you can't beat that robot, I can live with that. Fuck that final fight. But you got to be able to get there. Yeah. I think that would be my biggest requirement. My biggest requirement, to go back to your Mario 3 question, you got to be able to beat Mario 3. I would love to teach video games. That'd be awesome. Jans QC666 said, do you know the Game Chaser on YouTube? Love the series. They are kind of goofy and funny guy. I'm assuming this is a English to French translation, or French to English, and it's the Game Chasers. If there is an individual Game Chaser YouTube channel and I'm incorrect on the translation thing, I don't know them. But if you are talking about Billy and Jay, the Game Chasers, yes, I've actually watched just about every video on their channel. I like their old stuff better than the less frequent new stuff. But yeah, I recommend them. If you're interested in watching a couple of guys collect video games, I enjoy the Game Chasers. I've watched most of their stuff. That's the way game chasing go. Yeah, I get it. I know them very well. Yeah. Oh, I'm a floating head. Oh. Fill up my mouth with bum burps. Said, hey, Andy, when you go mini golfing, what color ball is your go-to? Purple. Always purple. Any chance I can pick a color of something, I'm going purple, because Donatello's my boy. Y'all know that. French Froggy said, Adam, did you ever finish Dave the Diver, and will we ever hear your thoughts on it? You talked about it for a while, and since then, nothing. On the same note, will the Toronto show video ever see the light of day? Both of those projects are on hiatus. The hold up on the Toronto comedy show video is part of it is figuring out distribution, and a bigger part of it is just I truly, from the bottom of my soul, hate watching my own stuff, and I just don't feel like finishing it. I really should. I probably will this spring, but don't quote me on that. I did not finish Dave the Diver, but I got pretty far into it. I'll probably throw it into a mini indies review on Expansion Pass at some point. Really good game. It just fell victim to the backlog, but I was pretty obsessed with it for a while. It was a good game. And then finally, before I move on, it's letter time. Professor Monkey for a Head said, listening to your PlayStation Expansion Pass episode last week got me thinking, what if Nintendo never threw its hat into the gaming market after the Atari video game crash in the 80s? Would video games be dead, or would another random company have stepped in? That is a good fucking question. I've always thought the biggest what if in gaming is, and I still to this day believe this, is what if Nintendo hadn't stabbed Sony in the back at the last minute, and the PlayStation had just been an adapter for the Super Nintendo. Like, what would gaming look like today? But I think that is one of the biggest ones. Had the NES never happened, after the gaming crash, had the NES not happened, what would another, like, I can't imagine video games would be dead. I guess there's a possibility. I think arcades probably would have stayed relevant for a lot longer and maybe got a little bit bigger. But at some point, some company was going to see the writing on the wall when it came to video games. And it probably would have been Sega. I don't know how all in on video games like home console Sega goes without Nintendo. But Sega was already making a lot of those arcade games, or at least publishing a lot of those big arcade games. So I would think Sega would have jumped in there. What if Sega had become the NES and then Nintendo had become Sega, and seen how successful Sega was, and we're like, we'll fucking show them. We'll invent a hedgehog that is blue to compete with their plumber Jacques. We've got our hedgehog Speedy. We'll show, yeah. I think, yeah, either Sega or Atari. One of them would have picked up the slack. There was just there was too much money in it, but that's a good question. Like it's a hard thing for me to answer in 2 or 3 minutes. So we could do a whole episode on that. That is a good fucking question. Okay, we got to keep the ball rolling. Appreciate all the submissions, everybody, as always. Let's switch this up and get to our Smash Hit segment, the official game show of Remember the Game Industries. Play 1, Remake 1, Erase 1. When I said play 1, remake 1, erase 1 there, I did it like LA Knight with the like LA Knight. Yeah. And it was like play 1, remake 1, erase 1. Yeah. Anyway, a huge thank you to Classic Concentration from the NES for unknowingly providing us with the theme music for the show. The rules are simple. Every week I give our Patreons 3 retro video games. They can play one as it was released, remake one as a modern game, and the third is erased from time forever. And as always, there are no wrong answers, but there is a right one. I'll tell you what it is in a minute. This week, since we're talking a bit of a hidden gem on the PS1 for RPGs with wildarms, I went with 3 more somewhat hidden PS1 RPGs. And those are Legend of Legaia, Brave Fencer Musashi, and Chrono Cross. And this was the closest Play 1, Remake 1, Erase 1 we've had in a while. But 27% of you said you'd play Brave Fencer Musashi, remake Chrono Cross, and erase Legend of Legaia. So let's see what a few of you had to say here, and then I'll tell you what the right answer was. Mr. Sandwich. This sounds like a Punch-Out opponent that didn't quite make the cut. Mr. Sandwich says, I'll play Chrono Cross because that game is still the bomb to this day, and I can always use more playthroughs to try characters I haven't really played yet. I would remake Legaia because I feel like the battle system has a lot of potential, and I think some of the modern visuals make this one really shine. And I will erase Musashi because I don't know it, haven't played it, haven't heard about it, and not knowing what I'm missing won't hurt me. That I never love it when people erase games they haven't played, but I also understand it's the safe play. And there's nothing wrong with playing it safe. I get it. Agent Booty Pants said, this is probably the toughest one yet. I'm going to play Musashi since I have a friend who's told me how much he loves it and I haven't played it. I'm going to remake Legaia because I loved renting this back in the day when it came out and trying the different attack combos. And I'd love to see what could be done to streamline combat and make it even more fun. Maybe duo combos with 2 players. And then I'm going to erase Chrono Cross. I was a huge fan of Chrono Trigger when it came out, so of course I immediately bought Chrono Cross without having read anything about it. Where's Chrono? Luca, Marley. Marl? I think it's Marl. Forget it. It never clicked with me because it felt all wrong, so we can shuffle off this mortal coil. What's a mortal coil? Oh, that might be poo. I've never heard that phrase before. Mortal coil. Bryce Larson said, this is a good one. I'm going to play Musashi because I haven't, and it has the fanfare to get me interested. I'm going to remake Chrono Cross. I recently replayed it on my Switch and didn't realize how much I didn't appreciate it when it was released. Super cool game with interesting dynamics, both game and story-wise. I'd love to see it with a bit more love put into it. Then I'm going to erase whatever the fuck that other game is because that name is more vanilla than Ned Flanders at a Republican National Convention. Really? You think Legend of Legaia? Legend of Dragoon is a more generic name than Legend of Legaia, in my opinion. But, and I'm not sticking up for Legend of Legaia. I'm just saying. Mr. E. Buckets said, dude, this one is easy. You have to play Chrono Cross. I played the original a few years ago, and it's even better than when it first came out. A++ title. Remake Legaia. I adored this game when it was brand new. The story and combat system were unique, but the battles just take way too long. Never mind farming enemies for your spells, and the whole game is a huge grind. It needs to be tightened up for a better play experience, and then erase Brave Fencer Musashi because I never played it, and I have no opinion. Safe. Some of you got to get edgy. I get the safe play. I get it. But anyway, David Dryden, pardon me, said play and remake are hard this week because the top 2 need remakes so bad, but I'm going to play Legend of Legaia and remake Chrono Cross because it was so close but so far from being great. And then I'm going to erase Brave Fencer Musashi because even though I haven't played it, I cannot bring myself to erase the other 2. See, and that's where erasing the one you haven't played, I understand. When you got that connection, I get it. I'm actually going with the majority of you this week. The winning vote, as did Osama bin Laden, who said Musashi is fun, play it. Chrono Cross should have been good. The story hook was great. Wake up in a world where you died as a child several years before, figure shit out. But the combat was a slog and there were way too many characters. Remake it and iron out those kinks. And then finally, erase Legaia. I've never played it and I can't miss what I don't know. My order is the same, but my reasoning's almost the opposite. I'm going to play Brave Fencer Musashi because of the 3 of these, that's the only one I've never tried. So I'm going to give it a chance to hook me and give it and I like the name. I like saying Musashi. So I'm going to play that one. I'm going to remake Chrono Cross because I did play that one back in the day and I did not care for it. And call me old-fashioned if you want to, but I'm going to remake it like Chrono Trigger because that's how I think it should have been done. And then I'm going to race Legend of Legaia because I bought that game as a teenager after finishing Final Fantasy VII, and I must have tried to get into that game 20 times. I fucking hate that game. I don't like the stupid combat system. If you never played it, it's like an RPG, but you like put in random button combinations, if I remember correctly, like in a fighting game to try to find moves, and I just found it tedious as all fuck. So I'm not trying to like poo-poo at anyone's Cheerios, but I can't imagine Legaia ever getting an episode because I have too many traumatic experiences as a kid where that game just irritated me. So it's gone. Thank you, everyone that wrote in to play along. As always, if you're wondering what I've been playing over the last couple of weeks, well, I've been away. A ton of XCOM 2, which I am so fucking into right now. It is such horseshit when you've got like an 88% chance and miss. I know. I play poker. Okay, I understand that if you're 88% to win, you're 12% to lose. I get that. But it is still fucking horseshit. That said, dude, I had a game today in XCOM 2 where on one turn I was completely fucked and all 3 aliens missed, which they should not have missed. I was like, you know what? The RNG goes both ways. So I'm really into that. We'll be reviewing it in a couple of weeks. I've also been playing Avowed on my Xbox. I'm liking it. I love the exploration and combat. I think the story sucks taint. But I don't play those games for the story. I play them for the exploration and combat. So it's doing it for me. And then I don't know why, but a couple of weeks ago, I on a whim bought PBA bowling on my Xbox. I don't know what brought it on. And I don't play a ton of it, but every once in a while now I fire it up and play like 4 or 5 games of bowling. It's really fun. I love bowling. It's a good fucking game. So I'm kind of into that. And then I got WWE 2K25 on Friday. And then I'm probably going to pick up MLB The Show next week. When I get those, I'll certainly be scrapping PBA bowling. And WWE and MLB will be my 2 new time sync games for the foreseeable future, I think. All right, we're going to pause here. I need a drink of water. We're going to let a sponsor in to do their thing. And when we get back, it's all about wildarms. Okay, we'll be right back after this. This is an ad by BetterHelp. A band once said, "Work sucks, I know." And I think most people agree with them. Workplace stress is now one of the top causes of declining mental health, with 61% of the global workforce experiencing higher than normal levels of stress from their jobs. And while walking away from your job might not be an option, taking a little time every day to focus on yourself and your mental health can make a huge difference. I know in the summer I try to get outside every day, get a little bit of sun, and just enjoy the outdoors. It really helps. At least until my allergies attack, and then it's ugly. It's important to take steps to combat work stress, and therapy can be a huge one. It's not just for overcoming trauma. Therapy can help you define work goals, set some work boundaries, develop coping skills. It's like a cheat code for life. And if you're thinking, man, I'm too busy for therapy, well, look into BetterHelp. They make therapy as convenient as possible. You can meet with one of their over 30,000 therapists online and on your schedule, just like over 5 million people around the world already have done. As the largest online therapy provider in the world, BetterHelp can provide access to mental health professionals with a diverse variety of expertise. Unwind from work with BetterHelp. Our listeners get 10% off their first month at BetterHelp.com/rememberthegame. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/rememberthegame. We've had some great partners over the years here at Remember the Game, but I don't know if any of them have hit home for me quite like Hometown Hero does. No pun intended. Don't start. It's a transparent, honest cannabis company that helps people and gives back to those that have served their country at the same time. I mean, come on. As soon as I read about these guys, I knew I wanted to work with them. Hometown Hero is a cannabis company out of Austin, Texas, and they were founded back in 2015 by a U.S. veteran. They have 2 goals: create premium hemp products that can help everyone, and to support veterans by donating a portion of those profits to organizations set up to take care of those who have served. Hometown Hero products are of the highest quality, and everything they offer is made right there in the U.S. of A. Gummies, caramels, chocolates, drink mix. There's something for everyone. And what's more, their hemp is grown locally in Texas, which is something they should and do take a lot of pride in. And they offer certificates of analysis for everything they sell because they want to be clear that their products are as advertised, both in terms of potency and ingredients. No contaminants, you get what you pay for. Just how they conduct business is enough to get my good eyes' attention. But when you circle back to the fact that the company was founded by a veteran and they put such heavy emphasis on supporting veterans, this isn't just lip service. I'm not reading a script I was given here. I'm proud to have Hometown Hero associated with Remember the Game. Reclaim your evening. Visit hometownhero.com and use code RTG to take 20% off your first purchase. That's hometownhero.com, code RTG for 20% off your first purchase. All right, let's talk some Wild Arms. As always, I like to let you nerds sound off on the game we're covering before my guest and I hog the airwaves. And we didn't have a ton of comments this week, but the ones we got were passionate as fuck. So let's rip through a whole bunch of these here. Baldo Flores said, I can still whistle that damned intro song. I love this game so much. Bought it back in the day based off the cover alone. I don't remember seeing any magazine coverage, so this is one of the best blind purchases ever for me. P.S. The original is still way better than the remake, and its absurd encounter rate. I want to try the remake at some point. I need to see this remake myself. Austin Wright said, played Wild Arms 3 as a rental on the PS2. Since you started saying this game was in the pipeline, I booted it up on the PS Plus catalog. Late 90s RPG. It's reliable, dependable, boring-ass turn-based combat. Exactly what I want from these types of games. Definitely in my top 10 of games I picked up because of Remember the Game. That warms my heart. I always like it when someone says they discovered a new game they like because of our show. That's how you know you're making a difference. Token Tony said, the opening music that plays when you first start up this game has become a part of me. I find myself whistling it all the time, and I let it play and watch the animation before every session. I need to know where all the hype about this game has been. I've tried at least 4 different Final Fantasy games, and not one has grabbed my attention like this game has. Jack quickly became my main threat, and Cecilia was probably the most useful mage I've played in a game for quite some time. Rudy was mainly just a tank until I unloaded most of my Gala into the rocket launcher. This has been my first time experiencing Wild Arms, and I can't wait to see what the rest of the series has in store. Rudy is a fucking tank. If you power up his arms right, Rudy's a fucking beast. Roger Staubach's Pool Cleaner said the quintessential PS1 era JRPG. It has everything. Interesting story, banging soundtrack, anime intro that to this day still gives me chills, an insane random encounter rate, and some puzzles that make me feel real dumb. My only real gripe for this game is the amount of required backtracking. Not ashamed to say that I had to bust out a guide a few times. Still awesome though. That's something we get into. I needed a guide a few times in this one as well. Both for trying to figure out where to go and to solve some of the puzzles. So you're not the only dummy around here, Pool Cleaner. Skawamp said, God, I love this game. The setting, the story, the tools and exploration, and the music. The music here was amazing. Getting the proto-wing and flying all over the map and its theme playing was peak gaming for me. Finally have to shout out Boomerang and his later incarnation, Boomerang Flash. Such an amazing enemy character. Only vice nowadays for me is the dated random monster mechanic, but most RPGs in this era did this. Yeah, it's hard to even hold it against. Unless it's like Earthbound Beginnings, where it's a fucking, Earthbound Beginnings, you're running into random encounters while you're in a random encounter. It's fucking insane. Fucking made me crazy. Brant Hewitt said, game I've been playing for the better part of 20 years. My ex-wife and I would take turns playing this game in our early 20s. From the awesome opening theme to the great story, in my opinion. No matter how many times I play this game, I keep coming back to it. Well said. And Mr. Vampire said, thank goodness this game released before Final Fantasy VII or it would have been way overlooked. As Brant mentioned, iconic intro song. I remember popping the disc in just to listen to it. It wasn't one of those PS1 games that sometimes had the music playable on a CD player. I do remember that. I'll argue that it still is overlooked because of Final Fantasy VII, quite frankly. I think it's horribly overlooked because of Final Fantasy VII. But I agree with what a lot of you guys said. I think it's a really good fucking game. I'm not saying that intro song isn't good, but I don't think I quite have the hard on for it that some of you do. But I also played it on the PS Plus where I could use save states whenever I was done playing. So I didn't have to watch that every time. I would turn it on and it would just go right to my save. Maybe it's just because I didn't hear it as much as everybody else. But I do agree. It's just a great fucking RPG, man. And I'm going to warn y'all right now, we're going to spoil some plot points. We're going to spoil how to solve some puzzles in this game. It's almost 30 years old, so that's part of the course. So just be wary, all right? And with that said, I'm going to cue up some Wild Arms music. And when it stops, my boy Captain N and I are going to take another look back at Wild Arms, which originally released in North America for the PS1 on April 30th of 1997. Enjoy the podcast, everybody. Let's go. All right, joining me via the blank phone this week to finally talk Wild Arms, which won our RPG poll back in December. So I don't know, it took me like 65 days. I fucking got there. Joining me via the blank phone this week to talk said Wild Arms is a wild man, and that is co-host of the Retrotopia podcast, my buddy Captain. And buddy, how are you? How's life?
Oh, I'm not too bad, not too bad. Thanks for having me back. Yeah, it took a while to get to this game, but man, what a journey.
Oh, I'll tell you, like it took me when I say it took me about 60 days to get through it to cover it, like I spent fucking 20 of those 60 days playing it. This was like this is not like an 80-hour game, but this I think I clocked in at just under 30 hours. Like it's a meaty
Yeah, there's
RPG.
there's definitely some meat on this bone.
Yeah, no shit. That said, I am quite notorious, maybe isn't the term, but infamously not the world's biggest JRPG fan. They either hit with me or they don't, and when they don't, I'm like, I can't fucking do this because they're not the most action based games in the world. If you're not into it, it can be like watching paint dry if you're not feeling it. This one hit. I don't know what it is. I don't know. I have very few. I have one criticism that I can think of, and it's not even a big deal. This is a really good fucking game, man. Really
It's
solid.
it's very simplistic, which is I think what makes it really good is that the simplicity of it is just very accessible to a lot of people, and it doesn't take a lot of experience in this type of game to get into it, and there's not a lot of people management, so it's a really basic RPG, but it just does it so well.
Yeah, I think its major problem is, and it's not even its fault, is that it's a PS1 RPG, and there's two issues there. One, every game is a fucking PS1 RPG. Like we
Yeah.
did that whole episode a while back where we debated the deeper. We were talking the Super Nintendo library versus the PS1 library, and when it comes to RPGs, like there is something for everybody. And then to top it off, not only is it an RPG on the PS1, but it's an RPG on the PS1 that's not called Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah,
And
and it's by a company, what's it called? Working Designs brought it over. And like I don't know a lot about this company, and I don't really mean to plug somebody else's podcast on yours, but one of your Patreons, Chris Copeland, does the Retro Hangover podcast, and he did this interview with somebody who uh, was part of Working Designs who brought these games over. And the fact that this game arrived in North America is a miracle unto itself. And the fact that it got like 5 total games is something special.
yeah, it's pretty incredible because I remember, I played Final Fantasy VII back in the day. Everybody played Final Fantasy VII back in the day, and we can do the dance about whether or not it's overrated or underrated. I know some people don't love it. That doesn't matter. The simple fact is, like, I don't know if I could name 4 other games that are as synonymous with the PS1 as Final Fantasy VII. Like Metal Gear Solid, I think is maybe the only other one. I know there's like Crash and Spyro and Resident Evil, and the list
Split,
goes on and
that's
on.
Siphon Filter. Fuck, that was the name I was trying to think
Yeah,
of.
of course. Like there's lots, but I just think that like when you think of the NES, to me, it's like it's Super Mario Brothers 3, and when I think of the PS1, it's Final Fantasy 7 and Metal Gear Solid. Like those are just the two that
Yeah, that's true.
they're just attached at the hip. You know what I mean? And so I
Yeah.
think Wild Arms, like even back in my high school days where I was a little more into the JRPGs, I'd never even heard of this one. Like
Um,
it just got kind of lost in the shuffle, I think.
yeah, as somebody who's kind of been collecting RPGs, like I got hooked on them from Final Fantasy 2 on the Super Nintendo, or 4 as we call it now.
Hmm.
And ever since then, I've been picking up every RPG I can find. So if it was a JRPG, I usually bought it as soon as I could. And I actually have this one in my collection still. And it's always been one of those games that just came out of nowhere and impressed me enough. And because of this, I actually started buying games from Working Designs and eventually Xseed, who created the later Wild Arms.
Oh yeah, is that right? It's
Yeah.
funny, hey, like how one game, all it takes is one game from a developer, and you're like, man, all right, you've earned my respect. Like I have those. Everyone's got those studios. I have those studios now where I'm just like,
Yeah.
whenever you put something out, I'm paying attention because you've earned my trust.
Yeah, and the
And
best part about this game is there's actually a remake of it on the PS2 called Alter Code F. And they just take everything about this game and just make it slightly better by taking the improvements made from 2 and beyond and adding it to the formula that made 1 so great.
yeah, I'm very interested in that now after playing this one. Wild Arms first popped up on my radar when I was listening to Colin Moriarty's podcast all the time. He's the host of Sacred Symbols now, but he's been he used to host IGN's podcast Beyond and pretty synonymous with video game podcasts. And he would always sing this game's praises. And I bought it years ago on the PSN to play on my Vita and probably got like a third of the way through it. And I was feeling it. And then just the classic thing you put man, is there, with the exception of open world games, I don't know if there's a game that's harder to put down and then come back 2 months later than like a classic JRPG. Because you're like, I have
only
no idea where I am now. No fucking idea.
one of the best things RPGs can do to alleviate this is when you make a save file, like there's two ways. Some are like, I can't remember the name of it, but when you come back from one RPG, it gives you a bit of a synopsis of where you are in the story. And another one, the save files actually name the part of the story you're at, so you can kind of jog your memory that way.
I like that as well. This one, like this time when I played it, well, I will say that has become a little bit less of an issue in the era of like walkthroughs and shit everywhere because you can kind of figure it out. But like, even in this one, like one of the things that I don't think it's a popular opinion, but one of the things about old JRPGs that irritates me just a little bit is practically every one of these at some point you end up with some kind of an airship or a plane or something where you can traverse through it. Like it's like as cliche as it gets, right?
Yeah.
And once you get it, I much prefer linear games, and I do get a little bit, I guess for lack of a better word, annoyed when I have to, like, I don't know where I'm supposed to go. And like, I get that it's trying to tell you, and there was a couple instances in this game where it was kind of like that, where it was like, we need to do this thing next. And I didn't know where that thing was. And I don't know if I just wasn't paying attention during the dialogue, but at times it would even tell me like, oh, we need to go to like the ghost, the ghost shipyard or whatever the fuck it was called.
Yeah.
But then I couldn't remember where that was. And there is a map in the game, but the map doesn't label where anything is. And
yeah, and the original game comes with the map with it, right?
Exactly, right? Which was a thing, as was the style at the time.
Yeah.
But when you don't have that, like I always have to Google it and look it up and shit like that. And that's where I often find myself lost when I come back to an RPG that I've walked away from, is I'm like, fuck, I don't even remember where I am in the plot, where it wants me to go, what am I looking for? Like, and that's that's not even my criticism of this game. That's just something that I don't mind exploring in an RPG when you get a hold of like an airship and you can fly around and you're like, oh man, there's a cave on that island surrounded by mountains, and now I can finally go into that cave and see what's in there. That kind of stuff doesn't bother me. But when it's to continue the plot and they're like, oh, we need to find, again, like in this one, like at one point you needed to find the two pieces of the machine or whatever the fuck, and you got one and then the other one disappeared, and I was like, I have no idea where the fuck this other one is. And I guess it's on me because I should have remembered that they said eventually everything washes up at the ghost shipyard. But that's the kind of, but I'm like, even if I know I need to go there, I don't know where that is. And that's a minor thing that irritates. That's not my big complaint about this game, but that is one of my things about JRPGs that just get under my skin just a little bit, where I'm like, oh, you have a map in the game. You have the magic map that shows you where towns are and where I am. Why can't I just move the cursor around on that map and see what they're called? Is it not that magic?
Yeah, but what it feels like you missed is getting the teleport spell, which is your fast travel to all these locations, and it names them where you're fast traveling to.
I did get it, but I didn't have it at that point. I hadn't counted at that point. I did get it, but I didn't have it then. Yeah,
I got that one early on.
And that was one of those things too, where I was like, yes, fucking every game should have this. Even going back to like some of my favorite RPGs ever, give us a teleport spell. Let us fucking move around.
Fast travel, like all the way. Yeah.
Yes.
Breath of Fire 2 was one of the worst, where at the beginning of the game you have to travel to a point, then travel back to the hometown, then travel a little further, then back to the hometown. And it's not until like halfway through the game that you get a mode of transportation to cut the walking down. There's no fast travel way to get back to that hometown. You have to continuously walk around this island as you go 2 steps forward, 1 step back, 2 steps forward, 1 step back.
That can get really fucking tedious if you're not feeling what the game is doing. Yeah. And I will say about Wild Arms, like there is some backtracking. I never really found it too bad. One thing I found in this game though was that like it not only encourages you to explore a bit, it kind of expects you to explore. I ran into one part in the first like quarter of the game where you're kind of teleporting from temple to temple and looking around, where I needed an extra duplicator key to open a magic door to keep going. And I only had one and I needed two. And I looked and finally had to go and be like, where the fuck is this one that I'm missing? And it turned out there's the one town where all the monsters attack and then the town gets emptied out. Uh,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
there was a
It
chest
begins
there
with
that
an
I
M.
yeah, and there was a chest there that I couldn't get at before the town had emptied out. But once it emptied out, I could get it. And that chest had the key that I needed to open the magic door to keep moving on in the game. And I wasn't really upset about it because I thought I had explored the town and I just missed this house and this door for whatever reason. But it was like I think that set the tone for me because I had to look it up, and I actually found like a Reddit thread where people were debating whether or not that was a good idea because the guy that was stuck was like, "That's stupid," and then the comments were like, "No, you just need to show the game some respect and explore and stuff in it." And I think that was where it showed me like you don't like this game expect like not even we'll get into the puzzles because some of these puzzles made me feel like a fucking idiot. But this game expects you to do your homework and go looking around and stuff. And I don't hate that because I didn't think what it did was
But
too extreme. It's not like I defend Earthbound to the death, but if you don't have the walkthrough, that part where you need to go behind the waterfall and wait 3 minutes is fucking asinine. Like if you don't
yeah.
have a guide or something to tell you to do that. So
Now, this game, one thing I liked about this game is, yeah, it expected you to explore, but it also eventually would give you items to cut down exploration. Like one of the tools Rudy gets is called the radar. And if you go into a town and use a radar, it'll tell you if items are still in there. And as you walk around using it, it'll actually show you where the items are. And that's how I found the second duplicator key.
yeah, that was where I learned the true meaning of the radar because I was
Yeah.
using it, but
Otherwise, it's useless.
yeah, I was using it, but I was only using it in the sense of like I'm on a screen, I hit his radar and it pans out. I'm just to save me going to every barrel and hitting X. I'm like, are any of these barrels worth my time? But then
Yeah.
that was when I really realized the value of it. And I was like, all right, all right. So that didn't bother me too much. I will say, I got it. So like this, obviously it's a JRPG. We should like explain it. It's a JRPG. And when you're in battles, it's the classic turn-based, your team standing on one side, the enemies are on the other, and no one really moves. Just like every other fight in the history of humanity. And then
Yeah,
when it's your
exactly.
turn, then you can have one swing and then you go back to standing there. But and I will say like we'll get into the combat. I don't think the combat is I think the combat is good. Uh Very good. Maybe not great, but very good. Where this
It's
game
simple. It's nice and simple.
exactly, which I don't hate at all. Where this game got me, I think, was the when you're out of combat, it's got a little bit of what's the fucking there's two other games we've covered up. One is no, fuck, what's it called now? I'm gonna have to look it up. There's another one. I had it in my head when we started the show, but it's got a lot of like overworld exploration with some actual like physical puzzles and things like that to it. It's not just walking around reading and clicking on things. You need to
Yeah.
like Brian mentioned different the three characters on your team, Jack, Cecilia, and Rudy each have their own tools that like work different ways in the overworld. Rudy can drop bombs to blow things up. Jack's got Handpan, the mouse, who's fucking awesome, who he can like shoot out to go get things. And I that was really where the game hooked me. I got at times, as I do with every JRPG with random encounters, there are times where I'm like, fuck off, I don't want to keep fighting. But I really
Yeah.
found myself invested in the temples, the castles, the dungeons, and solving the puzzles and exploring them that way. I
Yeah.
really
So
like that.
you remember I was talking about the improvements come from the second game. One of the things this game lacks, which I really like from the second game, um, is you when you get to a fight, an exclamation mark appears above your head, and if it's red, you have to fight. But if it's white, it means the enemy is below your level and you can skip it. And this game lacked that, but if it had that, and it does in Alter Code F, um, it would have made exploration way better. Also, I think the game you're thinking of was Lufia 2.
No, that was what I was going to say, and it kind of was, but I just looked it up. The other one was Alundra, PS1
Oh, Landra.
RPG.
Okay, yeah.
Alundra, just in the sense of like in the overworld, you're solving. It's got some Link to the Past DNA to it, like solving puzzles
Yeah.
and exploring. And let's put our cards on the table. Wild Arms, there is some blatant nods to Link to the Past in it, and as a Link to the Past fan, I was like, you earned some brownie points with this. Like the dash when you
Oh,
hold down the button and do the dash, that is blatantly Link to the Past Pegasus
yeah,
being
it
dashing.
ripped right off the code.
Yeah, I even posted a screenshot early in the game. You're in like Cecilia's bedroom, and there's a Link doll on the shelf,
Yeah.
and I was like,
Well, it's not a Link doll, it's a Link-esque doll.
Link-esque, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
Lank doll, because Nintendo's lawyers are circling. But I really, even out of the gate, I liked that. And then as I got more tools and had to solve more complex puzzles, that really got me invested in it. And I really found myself wanting a lot of these games, dude. About halfway through, I stop exploring it so much, and I'm like, I just want to get through the dungeon. Whereas in
Yep.
this one, I wanted to look for everything and I wanted to explore, partially because I enjoyed the puzzle solving and the dashing and running around, partially because I was always looking for more crest graphs, which we'll talk about because I like that system a lot. You are
Yeah.
right. The only thing was occasionally I got irritated. I didn't, this is not like Earthbound Beginnings level of random encounters, but it's generous with its random encounters, I do think.
Yeah, and
A little bit.
there's a fun little thing to make the encounters kind of disappear a little bit is when you get Rudy's skates, which is his third item or his third tool. If you use the skates as opposed to the dash, enemies don't attack you when you use the skates. Whereas if you're dashing, you can get attacked halfway through the dash.
Mm,
So to get through dungeons quicker, I would just use the skates, and the only difference is you can't stop until you hit a wall if you're on the skates. So
which
you just
is
had to make sure
irrelevant.
you didn't, yeah, pitch yourself off a cliff or something.
Yeah, which I also liked. Like I liked that it had that fake 3D where you're jumping off ledges to like lower platforms and you could fall off cliffs, and even little things like there's in some of the more, I don't know what they're, fucking spaceship forts, whatever the fuck. There's like the X panels that hurt you if you step on them, and some of the
Yeah.
dungeons there's fire on the ground or acid on the ground that I really like when it does that kind of stuff. It's not just generic walk around. It's enough to kind of keep your head up. And it's not a link to the past, but it's again just enough to keep you invested in it
Yeah,
while
and
you're
the puzzles were
exploring.
actually they're fairly well thought out these in this game. The puzzles were it went from like stupidly obvious to what the fuck is going on, but it
Oh,
was just a
dude.
way to really keep you engaged.
I will say, so one puzzle that just straight up, I looked it up and I was like, I don't know if I guess maybe I would have solved it eventually. There's the one where there are if you go, you get to a locked door, and if you go down, there are 5 treasure chests that you can't open, and if you go up, there are 5 bookshelves. And when you read the bookshelf that is in the same position as the treasure chest down below, I think it would have done something like it opened or closed that treasure chest.
Oh yeah, I
And
know
you
which
had
one
to
you're
open the
talking
right
about.
two. And I once I looked up the solution, I was like, oh yeah, I get it. Like you got to read the right books to open the right treasure chest. But I interpreted it more as just there's nothing in any of these treasure chests. I went up and read the books. I read the proper bookshelves, but I didn't realize that that was like that they were impacting the treasure chests that were off screen,
Oh
like 2
yeah.
floors down. And that one, I felt like an idiot. I was like, I don't know. I guess eventually I would have figured this out, but I felt like a dumbass that I couldn't get
Oh,
this one.
don't feel bad because one puzzle way earlier on, which was very obvious once I figured it out, was you go into this shrine or something, the Guardian Shrine, and you have these torches on the bottom floor, and you have to light specific ones in order. And there's 12 torches, so it works like a clock.
Yes.
And two things: one, I forgot I had a lighter to light them. Two, I didn't even realize they were torches until I looked up the walkthrough. And it's like I felt like such a moron.
I got stuck there for a while. I did get it, but I did do. I did real. I just didn't light them in the right order because I'm an idiot who apparently. You know what I did is you had to light like the 2 o'clock one or something, and I lit the one beside it, thinking it was the two, and I was like, dude. I was like, if I lost the ability to tell time on a fucking clock, like that was, I wasn't mad at the game for that. That was on me.
Yeah. Kids today learning all their digital stuff in school won't even know how to solve this puzzle. It's like, what the
No,
hell's an analog clock?
yeah, exactly. And then the other one that fucked me up was right at the end where you need to go and get the blue, red, and green orbs to open up like that last fight. There was
Oh, right.
one. There was the middle one. I think it was like the eye. And what it was you went down to like this fiery cave, and there were like 6 or 7 treasure chests, and you opened one and it had the eye in it, and then you couldn't open the rest. And so when I went down, I opened the first chest, got the eye orb. Then I tried to open another chest further down, and it said you couldn't open it. And I assumed that I just had I just gotten lucky and guessed the right chest. And I must have like, I put that eye on the cylinder thing it has to go on, and it was like, it just basically told me to go fuck myself. And I was like, oh, maybe I need to. So then I took the blue and green orbs back and put them down in different orders, and it kept telling me no. So finally I look it up and I'm like, is there an order I need to put this in? And then they're like, no, there's 5 or 6 treasure chests, all with eye orbs in them. Only one is the right one. And I never even thought to go down and put the eye orb back in the chest, which would then unlock the other chests and go get another one. And again, like, not the cleverest puzzle in the world, and I probably should have figured it out, but I don't know. It just went over my head for some reason. And that's what I mean. Like, I'm not faulting the puzzles, but they did make me feel stupid multiple times.
Yeah, there's just a couple. There is one where your party's in prison and they're all kind of split up.
Yeah.
And there's that ninja guy with his wolf who is, every time you get caught, he kicks you back into your jail cell. And you have to open these cells by pulling the levers, but you have to close one of them, which gets him stuck inside of it or something like that, or prevents him from closing the door on you.
Yes.
Yeah. That was about probably a good 20-25 minutes of trial and error before I figured out how I had to do it.
Same here. Yeah. So yeah, like what it is there's 4 doors and they're all like 3 of them are locked and they all have levers at the end. And then a 4th door is open with a lever at the end. So you walk into the first one, flip the lever, it opens the door to the second lever, which opens the door to the third lever, which opens the door to the 4th lever. And when you flip the last one, this bad guy runs in and goes to the lever before you and flips it, which traps you inside that room. And then you need to use Cecilia's watch to start the puzzle over. And same thing, I must have done it a dozen times. And I was like trying to like run and beat him to it. I was like, what the fuck? And then it's like being in an escape room. And then all of a sudden the solution hits you where you're like, dude, just fucking block off the 3rd switch that he can't flip on you, and then you're out. And I felt so stupid afterwards. But I was like, hey, no one else is going to see this till I talk about it on a podcast for the world. I'm fucking smart. So I do want to say massive respect to the puzzles. A couple of them frustrated me a little bit, but I much, much prefer puzzles like this. Or again, like the puzzles in Alundra, for example, or Lufia 2, over puzzles where it's like the classic Uncharted puzzle where you have a horse statue and a cow statue, and there's a horse and a cow pillar, and you're like, oh, I wonder if we need to put the statues on the pillars. You know what I mean? Like, I much preferred this where it was like, no, figure it out or fucking stay here forever. Fuck you. I liked that. So
yeah, because of the puzzles too, it made me explore the dungeons more, because you go into a door, you couldn't do anything, then you unlock the puzzle, but there's another door there, and you're like, well, obviously that just unlocked the way to go, so what the hell is this door doing here? So you go in that door, and next thing you know, you found everything in the dungeon.
Yeah, 100%. Plus you want to explore the dungeon because some of the items, like you find better gear for your team, which is awesome. You find those crest graphs. I wanted to ask you, like when I played Final Fantasy I for the show a few years ago, one of the elements of that game I really liked was having to buy spells. I thought that was like instead of just because like my Final Fantasy 2/4 is my first RPG as well. And I always used to get off as a kid on just grinding and letting my characters learn every spell. Like every time they learned a new spell, even if it was a spell I was never going to use, like Piggy, I was always excited to learn it. I like the idea of like having to buy your spells, or in this case, you find these crest graphs, which are like scrolls. And then in most towns, you can go to like a magician and pick a new spell to be put on the crest graph. And then Cecilia's got access to that spell, but you have to pick and choose which spells you want to carry. And the more crest graphs you find, the more spells you can equip and have in your arsenal to use. I don't know about you. I really, really like that system a lot.
I love the system, and I also love that you could actually disassemble the spells, because if you get something, you realize you kind of screwed up, at least you can go back and, get your crest graph back and pick another spell.
Yeah.
Yep, and then later on in the game, when you find the ability to get the upgraded spells, you can dismantle all your low-level spells and just like load Cecilia up with the higher-level spells.
Yeah, for a long time, I didn't realize there was a second tier of magic, and I had all the spells, and then I kept finding crest graphs, and I was thinking like, are these just in case you missed previous ones to make sure you can get every spell? And then, when I finally found that wizard with buddy, I must have spent like half an hour there. When I found that wizard at the bottom part of the map where it was like, we have better magic. And I was like, oh my God. a fucking spell that heals everybody, like a revive spell.
Yes.
Oh, thank the good Lord. The fucking dude, this is my major criticism of this game, and it's not even a big deal. Until you get a hold of the remedy spell where you can, whichever one it was that cures abnormal statuses, it is so there's like 9 different status ailments in this game, and there's no item that just cures all of them. So you're
No.
walking around with like, I've got spin wheels to make sure I can cure confused. I have antidotes to make sure I can fix poison. You have to carry like 9 different healing items for 9 different ailments until you get the ability to
Did,
just heal stuff.
yeah, did you find anything that cures sleep? Because that was the biggest one. Is
No.
enemies would put the party to sleep, and there was nothing to prevent it, and there was nothing to heal people from sleep. So unless that remedy does that, I mean, I just took my licks, and then when somebody woke up there, I healed and went back to attacking.
Yeah, same here. Like, near the end of the game, I was like, you had the magic to like, I think there was, maybe I'm wrong. I never actually, I looked up a walkthrough a few times, mostly because I was stuck in puzzles, and then a couple of fights. I will say, and we'll get into the combat after the break. I didn't find this game particularly difficult, but we'll get into
No,
that later. But the sleep was the one that, yeah, like you get put to sleep, and a lot of classic games when you get put to sleep, as soon as you get attacked, it wakes you up. But in this one, like sleep doesn't always take, but when it does, you're just there until it random, like the RNG decides to wake you up,
I
and
think it's 3 turns.
it can be so fucking frustrating when your whole squad is asleep and you're just stuck watching these
Oh,
fucking attacks play out. And again, like, and again, I want to save the combat, but like, I think I don't know, I might have game overed one time. Yeah, I did one time. Like I very rarely even found one of my squad mates like killed. Like it was not, I didn't find it to be a hard game, but it was
the
like
only yeah, the only boss I had a hard time with was that ninja guy, and I can never remember his name because you
the
fight
one
him
with the
multiple
one with the
times.
dog.
Yeah, and it was
Yeah,
only the
yeah.
first time I fought him that I had a problem.
I just like I'd be so irritated because everyone in my team would have like 1500 HP. We'd get put to sleep in a random battle where I can't run, I can't do anything, and then the enemies are attacking us for like 90 HP, and I'm like, I could sit here for 15 turns and not die.
Yeah,
And all you're doing, I'm just like, and that's where, and again, Wild Arms didn't have this problem, but that's where some RPGs lose me, where I'm just like, come on. Like I just get, I have ADD, I guess, and I get impatient, and I'm like, let's fucking go. But yes, I agree, and it was so odd that sleep was this one that you couldn't really get rid of, but then every other ailment, it was like you better carry 9 fucking items to cure 9 different fucking. Oh
yeah,
my
and the
god.
items aren't particularly named well either, so it took me a while to realize what was for what.
Mhm. Dude, I
And
was about a quarter of the way through the game before I realized if I hold triangle, a little description of what they are will pop up.
yeah, I did that by accident, and now it's just like a game changer for me.
Yeah, me too. I was like, oh, for fuck's sakes, this whole time. God damn it. Okay, so let's we still have to talk about the story, and I want to talk about the obviously the combat system, and then I don't know, maybe graphics, whatever the fuck else. Let's let a sponsor in here to do their thing, keep the bills on, and then we'll come back with some more Wild Arms. Okay, we'll be right back. Okay. The combat system in this game, you mentioned it before the break, it's pretty basic. I have to say, dude, like I don't mind a complex like Final Fantasy VII. I really like the materia system and the mixing and matching and the combos and the wild things you can do with the materia. By and large, I do prefer my combat a little bit more basic and streamlined. And I really like the combat system in this game. 3
Yeah,
party
and
members, they never change. They each have their wheelhouses that they're in. And it makes it to me, it makes it much easier to master that and come up with strategies and stuff. I like it
yeah, and
personally.
when I say it's basic, I just mean that it's not like some games where every character has like their specific special attack that you need to put in. Like Final Fantasy VI is an example of that, where you have to put in Sabin's, his blitz attacks. Or
Yeah.
this game doesn't have that. Everything is menu based. The menus look the same. The location of their specials in the same spot for all of them. You just have to realize who you're fighting with.
Yeah, the only and it's not even a criticism because I like it basic, but like the one thing I would say about the combat is I could see how if you're someone that prefers a little bit deeper combat system, like it's for most regular fights, all I did was attack, 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 which is like most
Yeah,
RPGs. And then when I would get into boss fights, then it just became the same thing. But it was like Rudy, I would turn to whatever the most powerful gun I had that had ammo in it. Jack, I would go to his most powerful sword technique that I had. And then
that's
Cecilia would either heal or buff or else use magic spell. Like, and it was just rinse and
every
repeat.
every boss fight. I did this formula. Cecilia would use quick on Rudy, which put him and Jack as the first two attacks every turn. Jack, I would use his fast draw, which is a special, until he got to level 3 of his
Yeah.
force, which would
Yeah.
give him like a super powerful attack. And Rudy, I would use his handgun or hand cannon, which had a high percentage of hit, until he got up to his force, which I can't remember what it is, but it gives him 100% accuracy. Then I take the most powerful one and make sure I hit the enemy. And it would work out that Rudy would continuously get his force past level 1. So I was just basically nerfing the enemy by shooting missiles at him.
Yeah, same here. So like if you've not played it, it's not quite the same as like a limit break in Final Fantasy, but like as they go on, they build up this, I don't know what I can't remember what it's called now, like a force, I guess.
Force. Yeah,
Yeah.
just force.
And they each have their own things. And yeah, and they have multiple tiers, so the longer you let it build up, the more powerful attack or whatever you want to call it you could use.
Yeah,
And
special ability.
Yeah, and Rudy, yeah. Same thing. Once I found that I was getting to level 1, it was like, which was his 100% accuracy with his guns. He basically had it like 9 out of 10 turns. And so every turn, yeah, I was just there was 2 weapons. There was the rocket launcher and one other one that I spent a ton of money just leveling up. And so they were super powerful and I would just use them. And then yeah, Jack, one of the things about Jack is you could find those scroll things that you could drop how much MP one of his fast draw techniques would cost. And so I had a couple of them that were go ahead.
I'm going to cut you off on that. Those things were worth a lot of money, and I had no idea what they did. And I sold them and ended up rebuilding the Adelaide Castle because he had to keep donating money to that guy. Yeah, they were worth like 20,000 each, so I never actually used them, and it didn't change the game at all.
No, and I can't imagine it would. I never realized they were worth money. I just fucking used them. Like I had it down. He had 2 attacks. I can't remember what they were now. It's been a few days since I played it, but he had 2 attacks that I liked to use. The one that was like midway through the game, it was my most powerful, and then another
Meteor
one toward the end.
Drive.
And they were worth, yeah, I think it might have been, yeah. And they were one was costing me 1 MP and one was costing me 2 MP. And so I could just use them like it was nothing. Because then when I would finally start to get low on MP, I either had a ton of those items to refill my MP, or I would just equip them with the item that when you walk around on the overmap, you got MP back. So I could use them every time I wanted. And then, yeah, Cecilia, I would do the opposite. You used fast on or quick on Rudy. I would use slowdown on the enemy so that we got all 3 of our attacks in before they did. Same strategy, I guess, just different way.
I mean, yours makes more sense because Cecilia used to, eat hits because she was so slow.
Yeah. So we would just slow him down, and then I would cast armor down on him. And then if I still had time, I would cast hyper on Jack to up his attack and then just unload. And it was like, and again, that was the thing was the only time I remember dying in this game was near the end of the game. I accidentally stumbled into optional boss fight where you use Jack's guitar to call this guy. And he killed me in one shot. And I was like, oh, yeah. Nobody else in this game has even killed me. And this guy just fucked me up in one shot. So
yeah, there is a couple of optional bosses later in the game after you get the flying spaceship or whatever you want to call.
Yeah.
You get their, if you beat them, you get their most powerful weapon or somebody's most powerful weapon or armor, but to beat them is like a pain in the ass. But I found a little exploit with the PlayStation Plus version is you have the rewind feature. Mm-hmm. If you rewind far enough back, you can actually prevent or like make them use a different attack. So if one that's like completely handing you your ass, you rewind a few like menu options back and the game will reload. And the chance of using that attack again would disappear. And I actually beat a few enemies that way just because they would do the one-hit kill. Then I would rewind. Then they'd hit me with some status effect and, take a little bit longer. But, I got the item, so that's what matters.
Yeah, and because I didn't end up grinding for most of the like best items in the game because the bosses were tough. And I was like, I want to see if I can beat it without. And it was super easy. Like nobody else really gave me all that much trouble. Like it really,
no.
I mean, I felt we were fairly leveled up because I was exploring and finding all the items and stuff. So I was constantly grinding for XP. But I really found it to be one of, from a combat sense, one of the easier games. Dude, the final boss fight when you're like plummeting back down to earth and you fight, uh barely touched me. Like other than kept putting me to sleep. But you know what I found was a lot of the bosses had one major attack that would fuck you up, and everything else was like so minuscule and like irrelevant. And you're right. It's like I never because I played it on PS Plus as well. I never used the rewind thing. But unless they would go to that powerful attack multiple times, it was really just it was a cakewalk of
Yeah.
a game, quite frankly.
Yeah, and as
Which I'm
long as
not
you kept
complaining about.
Cecilia healing, you're good to go. And if you had to use her first force ability, which makes an item affect everybody, and that was a great way to just make sure everybody was always healed.
Always. Cause like, dude, I always like every time I went to a village, I stocked up to 99 of the heal berries that were worth like 200 HP. And then I would
Yeah,
just use them between fights as needed. But yeah, when you were actually in a fight, like near the end of the game, I must have had 50 of those berries that would give you 1,000 HP back. And
yeah. There
so
was
yeah, whenever,
actually fun story. I found a place to actually buy them in the game because you can't buy them; you have to find them. But there's
yeah,
this little. You remember on the world map, you'd run into those guys who had like the cart with a store
yep,
inside of it.
yep.
Well, there was one hidden on an island in the back of behind a mountain over across some water that you had to take the golem to get across, and he would sell them. And
Oh,
he
I
would
never
also
found that.
sell, I think it was revives or something like that.
Because okay, because that's interesting. Because that was another thing I found was like until I got a hold of the magic, like until I got a hold of magic to revive, I was thinking like I was playing very scared in the early going because I was like I have like one, I can't remember what it was called, like a revive apple or whatever the fuck, like basically like a phoenix down, and I had like one. Like they're not prevalent in this game, and so I was like, "Fuck, I need to be careful." But A, as long as you win a fight, everyone comes back to life; they don't stay dead.
Yeah,
And
that's a
B,
nice piece.
yeah, and I just never found anyone was dying because as long as you play a little bit conservative and keep everybody's HP above a certain threshold, I just found it to be a very forgiving game, which I'm good with. I don't mind difficult games in some genres. When it comes to my RPGs, I gotta say personally, I'm like I'm here primarily for the story. Like
Yeah,
I don't need super stressful fights.
as long in an RPG, as long as you level up in the normal course of your like progression through the game, you level up enough to beat the boss with minimal challenge. I'm not saying the boss can't be challenging. I'm just saying you shouldn't have to go back and grind for 6 hours to beat the next boss.
Yeah.
That's what I like in an RPG.
Me too. And I found just doing basic exploration and trying to clean out dungeons and find all the treasure chests and stuff,
Yeah,
just in that
exactly.
process and not running from battle, I was always leveled to the point I needed to be.
The way
Like,
I figured it out is I was ready for the boss when I could take out the enemies in one attack, 1 to 2 attacks.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And yeah, just very forgiving. Speaking of the story, uh, I liked it. It wasn't like the deepest story I've ever fucking seen in a game, but I liked it and it made enough sense. One thing I really enjoyed, and again, I will have warned y'all during the intro, there is spoilers in this. One thing I really enjoyed was the like in Final Fantasy VI, there's the infamous part where everything kind of resets and then you go into the second half of the game. I want to keep it vague. I think most people know, but you know what I mean. In this one, there's a point, I don't know, give or take about halfway through, where they kind of turn on Mother. And I was like,
Yeah,
"What?" And I have to say, my interest in the story went from like, "Oh, it's the classic, here come the super beings that want to destroy the earth," to like, "Oh, wait, all the like Bebop and Rocksteady turned on Shredder here." And they're like, "We'll take it from here." And I thought that was fucking awesome. I really
yeah,
liked that twist a lot.
that was definitely a nice twist. One thing that really got me with this story is how it started. You do the introduction of all three characters individually, then they all kind of meet at one location, and then the big opening event where the demons show up happens at that location there, and Cecilia gives up her, she's royalty, so she gives up her royal treasure, which is the classic trope.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, the title screen comes up and it says "Wild Arms." I was like, "Oh my god!" I just started the story, and for some reason, that jacked me, and I just wanted to play more.
Me too. Yeah, that was a really well done like prologue. It was longer, but you got to. I think what it was just cool to meet all three characters and see what all three characters brought to the table. Like Rudy's the one that uses guns, Jack's the sword guy with the cool rat, and then Cecilia's the. I hate I like I don't know. I don't mean to go woke, but like she is the classic. I don't really do a lot of damage, but I'll heal everybody. You know, like which is what it is. It's you need that in every group. I like that it's just a
Yeah.
3-party system or a 3-member party. Everyone has their specified roles. I really enjoyed that. You and I were talking off air right up until the part where Rudy gets his arm cut off, which
Yeah.
was also badass, where he cuts his own arm off. That was fucking awesome. Right up until then, I was thinking like Rudy kind of sucks. I was like, Cecilia's got this character where she's a princess and she hates it and she's like the pressure of it. She wants to, and Jack seems like he's kind of, I don't really want to be here with you guys, but I guess I have to be, and I'm kind of a bad at. Like he was my favorite character. And then Rudy, who I assume is kind of like the main protagonist of the three, doesn't really say anything. And I was like, dude, you're like kind of going Link here. Like
He
say
yeah, he
something.
he had the weakest start as well. Like he's in a town there, and uh, he goes into the cave to save the kids, and then he saves the kids, and they're all like, you used a gun," and they're like, "Get out of our town."
Yeah.
And it was just like, why?
Yeah, agreed. But then once you find out his whole backstory and everything like that, and you have to go through the part where you just play as Cecilia and Jack to save him, and you go back in time and all that kind of stuff. Then I really came around on him.
Oh yeah, yeah. He
Yeah.
turned into one of the best stories of the game, and I like
Yeah.
that too. Is everybody kind of has their story in this game, which I guess it's pieced together as you go through. But by the end of it, or by the time you get to the final dungeon, you now know everybody's reason for what they're doing. Like Jack is looking for quote unquote the power. Cecilia there is trying to prove she's not just some princess, and then of course Rudy, his backstory. I don't want to ruin it, but it's just really well done and very in depth for what this game was.
Agreed. And one other thing I really liked about the story was when they gave Jack a little bit more depth and kind of showed the flashback of him,
Oh
because
yeah,
he
yeah,
didn't need it. Like Jack would have worked as just I'm out for treasure. Like fuck, I guess I'll work with you guys, but I'm here for fucking treasure. Like he kind of seems like the asshole of the group.
yep.
And then when you get this whole flashback to him showing, and then he kind of 180s, and then you know, to be a wrestling fan, like does the baby face turn and it becomes like, you know what? Yeah, I'm part of the team too. And then even at the end of the game, when you see the three of them, well, you see Jack and Rudy kind of walking, and then Cecilia kind of shows up, and like they realize like we went from three strangers that all kind of had a common cause and all, common cause in the loosest of sense. They all kind of became like genuinely, we really do like working together and being around each other, and we can do good when we're on the same team. And the story worked. The story worked. There's no Kefka. Like I don't think any of the villains in this game are. Very few villains in
No.
any video game are on the level of Kefka. But
Well,
when they all turned on Mother and were like, "Fuck her. We don't need this shit. We'll fucking," because what was it? Mother wanted to destroy the Earth.
yeah, because she's like the head demon, and Siegfried,
Yeah,
the head of the four knights of badassery there. His goal is to revive Mother, but once she's revived, she's instead of taking over the world, she wants to kill everybody, including those four knights,
yeah,
and then
yeah.
fly off and go do it to another planet. So that's when they turn on her.
And I thought that was fucking awesome.
No, that was
That
great.
was great fucking twist. Like that gave it, because like let's be honest, like there's nothing wrong with the classic the villains wanted to take over the world storyline. That there's like that always works. But then when it turns out that like the main villain that the other villains have been working to bring to full power to help them is like, oh no, I'm gonna kill all of you. And then
Yeah,
those villains, I was watching it, like one of my favorite things in games is when bad guys turn good or good guys turn bad. And I was kind of thinking maybe the bad guys would turn and like not become playable party members, but like join your cause to stop her. But then you realize like, oh no, they're just kicking her to the curb, and they're like, we'll fucking do this without you then. And I was like, I like it. That's what I'm talking about. That's fucking good storytelling.
yeah, that was a nice twist, and then it did get kind of tedious as they kept doing little twists here and there, but nothing as grandiose as that Mother twist. But yeah, just the knights started infighting, and then they added another character who actually turned out to be my favorite boss of the game. That's that boomerang guy, the ninja with the dog.
Yeah, he
But
was
you
cool.
fight him. Yeah, you fight him multiple times. His whole reason is just to fight you,
Yeah, he
and
just
everybody
wants to.
needs a yeah. Everybody needs a good rivalry.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he was my favorite as well. Him or the fucking um I don't know why, but I kind of liked I remember his name now, like the big white wolf looking guy. I don't know why. He just something about him. Just I don't know. They were all fine. You're right though. He definitely had more story. I do wonder sometimes. I read a great book a few years ago. A friend of mine gifted me a book, and it talked about the process of translating games from Japanese to English, in particular these old RPGs, and what a challenge it can provide because you need to, unless you're going to redesign the game and edit the sizes of the text boxes and stuff, then you only basically have the size. Like when an old JRPG comes out in Japan, they have the characters to tell the story and like the blue font boxes and what have you. And then when they translate it to English, unless they're going to go in and reprogram the sizes of those boxes and stuff, they need to tell the same story in English within whatever the character limits they have is. And that can cause some issues in translation sometimes.
Yeah,
Not to mention the different teams. They were like, and I'm kind of butchering it, but they were like an English translation team may not fully understand what the Japanese team was trying to say. So then it translates differently in English and then it changes what it means. Like Final Fantasy VII, I thought was really bad for that at a couple of points
oh, it
where,
was terrible.
yeah, where you're like, what the fuck is going on? And I don't know if that was the case in this, but there were a couple of instances where some of the font, I was like, that's a little odd. Like not completely game changing, but I always wonder how much harder it would hit if you could read it as it was originally written. But I
Yeah,
can't read Japanese and I don't have that kind of time. So
it's
it is what it
yeah, it's definitely one of those things you have to kind of forgive on these older games. Like obviously nowadays games are built in Japanese and English and
is.
whatever other
Yeah.
languages are going to translate it to. But yeah, these old games you have to
Yeah.
you gotta read between the lines and maybe make up a little of the story for yourself.
Yeah, which is what it is. Also, just a quick note. Actually, this is another criticism, dude. What I have to say, I didn't find the font particularly easy to read, like the font style.
No,
And
no.
whenever it was not on a background, like when it was just floating on the screen, dude, I ran into multiple instances where I was like, maybe I'm just getting old, but I'm like, I can't fully. And then it's got these weird like triangle symbols that cut off like the ends of the font, and I did find it difficult to read at times from a visual perspective.
Yeah, it's
But
just a really old font, but it's used throughout the entire game, so there's nothing you can really do about it.
no, and I didn't find it too bad when it was on a background, but when it was just floating, there were times where I'm like, I have no idea what the fuck that says. And
Yeah,
then and then but it's and dude, did you find there are points in this game like a lot of the time when it's font based, it'll put it up there and then the little blinking arrow to be like, hey, if you're a slow reader, no worries, we got you. When you're ready, hit the button. This one, there's a lot of times where the font is just going. And
yeah,
I'm a fairly fast reader, but I was like, I can't decipher what these fucking letters are. And then it was gone, and I was like, it was The Simpsons where Bart and Milhouse are watching the first Itchy and Scratchy, and Milhouse is like, a chance for more mist, and then it cuts off. Like that was shout out to him when he gets that very obscure reference. But that was how I felt sometimes. It was fucking minor criticism, but I found that a little bit annoying.
yeah.
So
There's some games. I think this might have been one of them, but I'm drawing a blank on it. But you know where you hold the button down to make the text scroll faster?
yeah.
Some games I've played, actually, if you do that, it'll actually go right to the end and skip to the next block of text, and it's just like you have to read as fast as it prints it. And uh,
Yeah, I hate that too.
I think this was one of those games, or this might have been one of the ones where you hold the button to get the text to appear, then you tap again to get it to move on. But yeah, it's just when you're reading a lot, you get kind of complacent and you start doing that. Next thing you know, you're missing entire blocks of story and what to do next.
Yeah. And I will say, because I played this on PS Plus as well on my PS5, that was where the rewind came in handy. Was being able to be like, what did I just miss? And pull it back and be like, there we are. Old timer
Not
Adam.
once in my playthrough did I think of using the rewind to reread something I missed. I only used it to, nerf bosses.
It's fine. That's what it's fine. And I will say, like, that's a common discussion among the retro gaming community. Like, is save states and rewinding cheating? And I'm like, I think it is if you want to flex about not using them. But if you don't give a fuck about that, play them however you want. Just
I'm
fucking
40
play them.
plus years old, and I have a life outside of this house. I
Yeah.
don't have time to sit there and
Oh, buddy.
play a game for just because I have to tell somebody else how great I was.
100%. And I was saying, on social media while I was playing this, like, I don't think there's an old genre of game that benefits more from save states than JRPGs. And it's not
Yeah.
even to cheese. If you want to cheese, but it's not even to cheese. It's just this is one of those ones where you need to, if you want to save, you either need to find a bird in a town or you need to find one of those glowing green circles in like a dungeon. And especially in today's society, it's like I don't know if I just want to fucking let me just save wherever the fuck I want. Let me just
Yeah,
pause
if
and
I have to
save.
walk away for dinner or something. But
Yeah.
it's funny you said cheese the game because there's actually an exploit in this game, the original game that they left in this one, where if you're in a battle and Rudy and Jack both use a heal berry, and then you take a Cecilia and you take an item you have one of, and you move it into the spot where that heal berry was, and then carry on with your turn. There's like this thing in programming, and I just learned it, but essentially you can go from 0 to 255, and what this does is if you go below 0 it cycles back to 255, and that's what
Oh.
it does. So when you use the heal berries and you put one of an item, it tricks the game into thinking the item that's in that spot is what's being used. When you go back in, you'll end up with 255 of that item. So if you do it with your like hardy apples or the ones that increase your attack, defense, and vitality, you can actually like overpower your characters early on in the game.
I've always wondered how people find that shit. Like these fucking weird glitches where it's like, oh, if you take the wizard's key and equip it in your left hand and then only use items for 3 battles, then take it off and then fly to the island of Bayway, you will end up with 9 wizard keys. And I'm like, how the fuck did you figure that out? You fucking science nerds, fuck me.
People who
Uh
can only afford one game.
I guess so. Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. A couple other quick things I wanted to bring up. Dude, the runes in this, like you find that's basically your summons in this game. Like you equip your weapon, you have a second arm, you've got your body, you have your head, and then you've got like a rune. And
Yeah.
they provide different stat boosts depending on which rune you've equipped. And then also you can like summon them in your fights. I have to say, first of all, I very rarely summoned. And part of the reason I very rarely summoned was because I found it annoying that I couldn't remember who had, because like none of them are like this is the fire rune. It was always like some, or like they would say that outside of the battles, but then in battles it
Yeah.
would just say a weird fucking name, and I could never remember who had what, so I never used them. I don't know about you, but I only use them to about for the specific stat buffs on
There
each
was only
character.
one I used regularly, and that was on Cecilia. And her third level of force is to special
Same,
summon,
yeah.
kind of overpower the summon. And it was called Odo Ryak, which was the one that healed your party and got rid of all the status effects at the same time.
Yeah, I use that one toward the end of the game as well. Yeah.
Yeah,
But other than that, like I just because I like summons, like I think summons are like the coolest things, and I just quickly found that I was like, I don't want. I'm just going to use these for. Maybe I'm shortchanging myself, but again, I didn't find the game very hard to begin with, so I didn't really need them.
no, there
So
is nothing here unless you had the specific, or you're lucky enough to have the specific element that hurt the enemy. They did little damage. I
yeah,
did more damage with Rudy's arms and Jack's what are they called, fast draws, than I did with
yeah,
any summon in the game.
me as well. Also, dude, I it took me. I'm ashamed of how long it took me to realize you would find a new fast draw hint for Jack, and then when you would go to his menu of moves, it would just show up as question marks. And like, unless maybe to this moment I did it wrong, but did you have to just keep using it as question marks until he eventually figured it out?
I'm not 100% sure on that one either, because I got into a battle with one of those super bosses by accident, and he cleaned me up. But I used Jack's one of his fast draws, and it unlocked it. And then I went back after I rewound, and I fought another enemy, and I never unlocked it again in the game. So I'm not sure how it figures out it's ready to use. But I would just keep using it in lieu of an attack, because if it didn't activate, you didn't spend the magic point, so you could just keep using it until eventually you're lucky enough to get it to unlock.
Yeah, that was what I would do. It was when I would just fight regular battles. Once I got it down to one enemy, then I would always go to Jack's question, because Jack was always the first guy to attack in my party, and I would always go to his question mark thing, and then just keep. It would just be a standard attack until he finally figured out whatever the hint was. But I was like, am I doing something wrong to unlock these? Sorry, you weren't sure either. Okay, that makes me feel better
Yeah,
because
no,
I was
it doesn't explain it very well.
Okay. And then I want to just quickly mention, like, I fucking love the graphics in this game, particularly when you're walking around, because it's got that. It's my favorite looking PS1 games are games that just look like 16-bit games pumped full of steroids, and that's what this looks like a Super Nintendo RPG
Yeah,
popped up on goofballs. Like, it looks so
yeah,
much better than, say, I know Final Fantasy VII is imported, but that was like rudimentary 3D where they were built out of Lego bricks. This just looks like pixel art. This looks like early 2D HD pixel art. I
yeah.
love
And
it.
this
I
is
love the way
this.
it looks.
Yeah, this does it so well too because it's smart that it uses the pixels everywhere outside of the battle, and then uses the 3D characters inside of the battle where obviously you don't really have to stress the system. So it was done really smartly for a game of its era.
I agree, and you're right, because yeah, when you go into battle, then it goes into that 3D thing, and I think they look good, good enough. But I'm glad that that's not how they looked walking around the overworld.
Yeah, that would have
You know,
sucked if you had that whole 3D thing going on.
yeah, and I don't think a
Especially
lot of the
this era.
yeah, and a lot of the puzzles and things like that wouldn't have worked
No, that's
uh,
true. Yeah.
in that 3D. Like, that's why, again, like, it's I really don't like when I compare it to Link to the Past, like, it's only in very small instances. Like, you have a hook shot, the bombs, some of the puzzles, the dashing, things like that. But it's like it's high praise because I think Link to the Past is one of the greatest games of all time. But it almost looks like playing two different games, and I think that was what clicked with me. I didn't hate the story. I liked the characters. I liked the simplicity of the combat, and then I loved the fact that, like, when I went into a fight, yeah, it had some Final Fantasy VII to it. But then when I wasn't in a fight, it was like playing a jacked up Super Nintendo game, which I'm always going to
Did,
prefer.
did you find some of the attacks by enemies in the fights or the character movements to be stupidly slow? Like,
Yeah.
not enough to break the game, but there's this one where it would cast confusion and it would take like 30 seconds to go from the enemy in this weird little spiral animation to hit your characters. And oh god, I only hated that attack because of how long it took to actually hit me.
Yeah. I mean, and that's where, like, yeah, 100%. And that's where a lot of these old JRPGs lose me is I just get bored of the combat. I just get bored of watching the same animations. And again, for 4 out of 5 basic fights, you're just attack, attack, attack. You know what I mean? Like, and that's where I get, but again, in like in today's society, it's not quite so hard because I'm playing it on my computer or on my PS5 on my monitor here, and I have YouTube up beside me, and I'm watching, listening to a podcast while I'm playing, and things like that, and that really kind of negates some of the repetitiveness of some of the fights.
Yeah.
And yeah, a couple of those, like, we're not talking Knights of the Round long, which will always be a meme, but there are still some times where you're like, okay, let's fucking go a little bit here. The
Yeah.
only other thing I had written down was to say, uh, I didn't think it was like earth shattering, but I thought the soundtrack was very good. Not, I don't know, yeah, there wasn't a single track in this game that like stuck with me that I'm like I need to listen to forever, but it did the job. It was fine.
It's like some of it gets a bit repetitive, like all soundtracks do, I guess. But the one when you go into a town, there was a song it played, and I was eventually just whistling along to it because I was in the town for so long.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But other than that, no, it's not anything to write home about. But this is definitely a good soundtrack, especially, and I'm going to call this right now, that intro video, one of the best introductions to a video game.
Agreed. Agreed. Yeah, I 100% agree with that. Even the end, like, there's this awesome like slideshow where it's showing these characters and like this cool looking fucking art fighting different enemies and stuff, and I was like, yeah. So
Yeah.
good package, good game. Like, I really think this is an underrated game. I think it gets lost in the. I know listen. I see the comments whenever I post that I'm playing it. I know it's got a fan base, but in the PS1, that RPG library is so deep, and if the name Final Fantasy is not on the title, I think it gets even buried a little further. I really recommend. Like, Legend of Dragoon, I tried a while back, and I thought it was too slow. It was a cool concept, but I couldn't. It didn't really grab me by the tits. This one did. I really, really enjoyed Wild Arms. I will look into more games in the franchise in the future. And if you're a classic RPG fan and you haven't played this one yet, I wholeheartedly recommend looking it up. It's a good fucking game.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
it 100%. This is a good game.
what do we score this thing on? I don't want to just. I mean, I guess we could just do. It came out in
Well, there's
'97.
there's 12 tools.
All right, yeah, that's a good one. Let's go with that. That's better than 97. All right, then guest gets first dibs. Out of 12 tools, how many tools would you give Wild Arms?
I was originally going to score this about how much I like each of the tools, but then I realized the score was going down further than I wanted it to. Um, it's thanks to Cecilia's three basically pointless tools
There's some
for
pretty
the most
useless
part.
tools, yeah.
Yeah. But oh god, I love this game a lot, but it's not the best RPG out there, but it's still damn good. So I'm thinking I'm going to give it a solid 10 out of 12. It's going to get a good score that way.
Yeah, I know it's bad radio, but that's exactly what I'm going to give it. And I just want to emphasize, not that my score means any more than Caps does, but like I don't love this genre, and I'm still going to give this one a 10 out of 12. Like I'd even be convinced to go as like a 10.5. This was the best JRPG that I have played since I played Sea of Stars.
Oh
It,
god,
I
Sea of
will,
Stars is so good.
I will say not as good as Sea of Stars,
No,
but
no, definitely
but
not.
but best RPG I've played since then. I really, there was not one instance where I thought about just being like, all right, like when we were doing Legend of Dragoon, I got to the point where I was like, I'm done. This is awful. I'm not enjoying this anymore. I never once felt that way with this game, with the exception
No.
of occasionally being lost in the overworld and having to look up where the fuck to go. And that's not
Yeah.
anything. That's just a product of the times and not having the map.
You know what?
So
I didn't bring it up, but I think one of the things I really liked about this game is every level took roughly around the same time to complete, maybe, 15 minutes plus or minus. So I could just do one dungeon at a time and that would be my day. So like an hour and 15 minutes to do a dungeon and then you just walk away for the day. I liked how I could break it down that way. That was very respectful of my time, I'll call it.
yeah, you're right. It is very nicely segmented, where it does almost feel like you're playing chapter after chapter. And that, yeah, I agree. That hit home as well. I'm sure we missed stuff. I'm sure there's a bunch of hidden shit. People are going to write in and be like, you didn't even talk about the Coliseum. I went to the Coliseum. I tried it once and I was like, I don't want to do this anymore.
I
I'm
walked in, walked out.
Yeah, I never care about that shit. I'm sure we missed stuff, but at the end of the day, good fucking game. I recommend it. If you like RPGs, I think it's a must play. If you're on the fence, if you got PS Plus, it's on PS Plus Premium, which is where I played it. Really enjoyed it. Probably will never play it again, but I will check out more games in the series for sure. Cap, you thank you for taking time to do this today, because I know
Always.
you're like me. You talk a lot of old video games. So if people want to hear you talk more old video games, how would they do so?
Well, I'm 1/3 of the Retrotopia podcast. I got a couple of members of your community and me got together and we started our own podcast with blackjack and hookers. And so you can find us wherever you get your podcast. Just look up Retrotopia. And I do post in the Discord every week when a new episode comes out. Yeah, if you like what you have, we have our own Discord, again, with blackjack and hookers. And you can join that too. Just ask me how anytime you want. I'll send you an invite. But thanks for having me again, Adam. Like I said, this is always fun to do with you because it just kind of lets me express myself on some of the games that I might not otherwise think of playing.
Well, likewise, man. It's always good chatting with you. You did a great job as always. And it's always good to have somebody a little bit smarter than me on the show, which is like 90% of my guests. I would argue Tyler. Maybe I'm smarter than Tyler, but
Yeah,
it's
take
always
that,
nice
Tyler.
to have, yeah, but it's always nice to have someone smarter than me on the show because they cover my incompetence. So great job, buddy. And we'll do it again soon.
Yeah, take care.
That is going to do it for this week's episode. Cap, thank you as always for giving me a shout and talking some Wild Arms. And every single one of you nerds listening to this, whether this was your first Remember the Game experience, your 326th, maybe your 205th, whatever number it is, I appreciate you. I know how many retro gaming shows there are out there, and that you rolled the dice on ours, well, that warms my heart. And if you're looking for another one to roll the dice on, check out Retrotopia. It's Brian's podcast. It is very, very good. And yeah, I don't know. Check him out. Fucking tell him I sent you. Maybe it'll do something. Maybe it won't. Maybe you'll win a prize. Maybe you won't. I want to officially waive my legal responsibility and their legal responsibility to provide a prize by telling them that I sent you. I'm just trying to fucking promote it without it being a boring promotion, okay? Anyways, that's it. I'm going to get out of here pretty quick. I'm going to thank some patrons and shut this thing down and then get it edited and put it up on the internet for all of you to listen to. Thank you so much. Oh, yeah, if you liked us, leave us a good review, would you? I'm supposed to ask for those. Leave us a nice review. That would make me feel good. I'll be at the Calgary Expo at the end of April running a booth, so come by and say hi if you want to. We'll have some shirts and stuff for sale, and I'm happy to shake babies and kiss hands or vice versa, or whatever it is you want me to do. If you're a Patreon, tomorrow on Expansion Pass, with the Nintendo Switch's era coming to a close, I'm going to be counting down my favorite Switch games of all time. Should be a gooder. And we'll be back 7 days from right now with Remember the Game 327, which I'm fairly certain is going to be about Comic Zone for the Sega Genesis. Should be good. Tough, but good. I love should be good. All right, I'm leaving. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate all of you. Talk to you on the next one. Cheers. Remember the Game is brought to you by our Patreons. I couldn't puke up all the content I churn out every week without all of your support. And the following people are at the senior executive vice president level or higher on ye old Patreon box. And if that is the case from the bottom, what am I supposed to say here? Oh, and as such, I'm contractually obligated to thank them. That's what it is. Sorry, I'm tired. Anyways, this is going in, we'll go alphabetical order based on the email address attached to your account. A huge thank you to Remember the Game Hall of Famer Slick Motherfucking Rick, Tyler Doogie Bowser MD, AB Killin, Just a Fish, Adam Martinet, a dude named Adam, Akiris Network, A-Town, Infinity Rage, Alex R, Itchy Nutsuru, Andy Hudson, Tornado, Dave Thompson, Toby OP, Dude Where's My Game, Pee Wee Squitters, Andrew Wright, Benjamin Atkins, Zamatos, Brandon DeZeba, Kurt Rambis is the GOAT, Legendberry, Hago Waffle, Dan of Dissect That Film, Nerdy Hybrid, Nordak, Blobby Rogers, B Money, Matt Babineau, General Fury, High Plains Drifter, Elijah Burns, Roger Staubach's Pool Cleaner, Bula, Hitchy Poo, Cody Thompson, Monk Al, Adam Blank still hasn't reviewed Mario Galaxy, Gilbert Sullivan, Chris Fleury, Chaz Hammond, Chris Hill isn't scared, that could be anyone's ass, Triple, Makeshift Mellow Magic Money, Christian Gabriel, Wreck-It Ralphie, Rick, Christopher Britt, Drugs Bad, okay, Spider Cat, Cody Richardson, Juris Dr. Mario, Robbie Air, Cesar, Combo Chuck, Fallen Snow Kiku, Archangel Otaku, Daniel, Darbles, Thunderleaps, Decoy Man, The Supreme Chozorizo, Devin Collins, Carbon Fiber Zombie, Doug Dorn, David Schroeder, Scotty McGee, Joe the Sandman, MacGyver 88, Super Jess, Ida Yellow, Eric Hopewell, Flater Flav, please refrain from tasting the knob, E-Man Trucker, Big the Cat, Leroy Jenkins, Growly Wog, Lil Bunny Fufu 89, VOS Rager, Graham Kennedy, G9 PSX, Fancy Store-Bought Dirt, Maverick Marty, Jameer Williams, Diablo Spartan, Fill Up My Mouth with Empty Poos, Faded Sufferance, Holmes, Trooper Galactus, Liquor Like Luigi, Phil Lencher, Isaias, James Juan Francesco, It's That Nerd, James, Sharonic, Max Legroom, John of the Adult Children Podcast, Can't Destroy Her, Jake Carter, Nothing Could Possibly Go Wrong, Jay Nasty 15, The Big Deal, Jay Callahan, Beaver Boy, Laces Out Dan, Johnny from Virginia, Oroku Saki's Gardener, Chugger 22, Jordan, Jeff Bergeron, Stud Still Smash, Rated Excellent, No One Cares, Too Much Karma, Justin Blair, Jinxie 425, Fill Up My Mouth with Farts, Jort King Keegs, Kevin Kellums, My Left Nut, Kevin Monroe, Marcus Mendoza, Ryan Kinchin, Postman, Game Boy Gannon, Aaron Lawson, Gabe, Mark Sneed, Lucas Shaman, Leroy Westrich, Mikey Hag, Angry Ticks, Alex McIntyre, Pultiton H, Savage Boosh, Lord Salazar, Just Car Pranks, Beef Dingleberry, McCracken, Standard Ass Brian, Zonko 504, Morgan, JSK Fusick, Maverick, Nick Creature, Musty Beetle, Elephant Calves, Donnie the Dude, Walter, Wilco, Frosty Bear, Lord Palmerston, Ryan Perry, Wimp 15, Daddy Secret Little Chubby, Hits Meal, Plow King, Alex Ramos, Randy Barrage, Horrorstalgia, a podcast, S, Big Daddy Randall, Titan 420, Brian Richmond, Monstrous the Boner, Wyatt the Surgeon Who's Not a Surgeon Row, Madam Nutsich, Desiraith, Ryan Donahue, Squeaknut, Sabin, Mercury 869, Max Sandin, Sam Carpenter, Storm Beagle, Blaine the Hoagie Man, Scott Brooks, Captain Assberry Juice, Steve Dulk, Shank the Rat-Faced Bastard, Zen Paladin, Timmy the Exuberant Turtle, Super Saiyan Safarioth, Shane's World, DBXJ, Shoeboxers, Captain Steve N, Jimothy, Sour Goatface, Squints, Ryan Stemmerding, Cheat C. Koopa, Ted Explosion, Captain Black Silver, Scary Terry, T-Bear87, Mike Maloney, Tadpole, Thomas Smith, Botfucker, Timothy Sabrinsky, Doogie, Beers of War, Fuzzy99, Quiet Place Queen, Travis Standers, Mr. Jabroni, Comebread, I uncancel my Netflix to watch wrestling, Ace McGuy, Because 19, Penguin Milk, Wolf Magic 21, Lord Longrod, Von Hugendon II, Ryan Whitcomb, John Woodruff, Rush's Dog Walker, Works for Me, Dean Donian, Wolfgang Darren, Earl, Darth Skywalter, Kia Pup Mizuru, Joe Buck, Zane Donovan, Zach Shepard, and Matt Zeus. I give that round a shout out to 6. I struggled, but we got there. Appreciate all of you. Thank you for the support. Talk to you next week or tomorrow or whenever you listen to another one of my shows. Goodbye.